I boycott the president's tweets, but about Mr. Ross, who it seems to me doesn't know very much about commerce, which is his department's responsibility. He says the effect of these tariffs will be negligible. He ought to talk to, for example, the CEO of Whirlpool. Whirlpool said between Whirlpool's raid on Washington, where it got protection against foreign imports, the CEO of Whirlpool said they might lose as much as $250 million off their profits because of increased costs of materials, and he mentioned steel particularly. This was at a time when these coming steel tariffs were utterly predictable. Or Secretary Ross might talk to the people at Electrolux, which is Europe's largest appliance maker. It is rethinking, speaking of $250 million, a $250 million investment in a factory in Tennessee because these tariffs might make their products less competitive. So I think before holding up soup cans and thinking he's addressing the issue, he ought to look harder at the real facts.
The Wall Street Journal writes this morning that Donald Trump, quote, made the biggest policy blunder of his presidency. It goes on to describe this news as a self-inflicted folly. What do you think?
Well, that's certainly not too strong. First, protectionism is a scythe that cuts down all that Republicans are supposed to stand for. It's government picking winners and losers. It's government industrial policy. It is crony capitalism dressed up as a matter of principle. It is the government telling Americans what they may purchase, in what quantities, and at what prices. Big government doesn't get much bigger than it gets under protectionism.
But the president understands, doesn't he, Mr. Will, that this policy would have lots of support in at least, I can think of 3 states that have been very important to him: Ohio, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
Except there are far more consumers in those states than there are consumers of steel than there are steel makers. There are about 140,000 steel makers in this country. There are more than 40 times that many American workers in Michigan, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, and elsewhere. More than 40 times that number of people in downstream steel-using industries. So this is a lose-lose along the way, and never mind the fact that there are hundreds of millions of American consumers in all 50 states who are going to be hurt by this.
Following on your reasoning, the Wall Street Journal calls this, another name for this is the Trump voter tax, which raises your point, which is the idea that this is going to hurt more of the Trump voters than it is going to help.
This is a tax increase. Tariffs are taxes collected at the border and paid by American consumers. They're just particularly surreptitious and indirect and sneaky taxes.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.